talk about counting process of electronic voting machine in a counting hall. Only the control units and seal envelopes containing the Form 17C shall be brought to the table as per the EVM movement sheet. By the EVM movement sheet, it means that the control unit which is used in the first polling station shall be brought to the first counting table, and the control unit which is used in the second polling station is to be brought to the second counting tables, etc. Now the unique machine number of the control unit and the unique ID number of the pink paper seal and the unique ID number of green paper seal shall be verified from the record and shown it to the polling agents. Now remove the seals from carrying case and take out the control unit. Allow the counting agents to verify the unique numbers of the pink paper seal, special text, and green paper seal. The returning officer shall ensure that none of the voting machine is tampered with. If returning officer is satisfied that any voting machine is tampered, he or she shall not count the votes recorded in the machine and it should be reported to the commission. On the counting table, the counting supervisor shall verify and record on the Form 70C Part 2 itself that the serial number of the counting unit taken up is the same as that noted in the Part 1 of the Form 17C. Now open the outer cover of the result section. Check the special tag and the green paper seal. They must be intact. Do not open the inner door. Open the bottom compartment of the control unit and switch on the power. If voltage of the power pack is weak, there may not be any display or display shows the change battery. Change the battery after taking the permission from the returning officer. Press the green mark on the green paper shield above the result button. Press and note down the result in given format. Total votes of the control unit result must be same as that written in Form 17C Part 1 by the presiding officer. During his round of counting, counting supervisor will ensure that at the time of pressing the result button on the control unit, the counting agents of all candidates are shown the display panel of the control unit so that they can note down the votes polled in favor of each candidate as display on the control unit. If necessary, the CU must be lifted by the counting assistant in such a manner that the display panel is clearly visible to the counting supervisor, counting agents, and micro observer. Display can be done more than once for satisfaction of all. Take the signature of candidates, their agents, counting agent in Part 2 of Form 17C. The counting supervisor shall put his signature in Part 2 of the Form 70C and the sufficient number of Part 2 of the Form 17C with the names of all contesting candidates and nota shall be pre-printed. The Part 2 of the Form 70C shall be prepared in duplicate using the carbon paper and both copies should be got signed from the counting agents. After noting down the result, switch off the control unit now. Keep the control unit in respective carrying case and store in the strong room. As per the new guidelines and instruction given in the year 2019, before taking the signature of candidates, their agents and counting agents in Part 2 Form 17C, in the space between the counting supervisor's signature and signature of the candidates or their agents, counting agents, it should be written in ink that we hereby certify that the control unit number so and so is or are the same which were used in the polling station number so and it should be brought to the knowledge of all the counting agents. One copy of the Form 17C Part 2 will be handed over to the returning officer or the assistant returning officer for computing round-wise tally of votes. The other copies shall be collected by officer designated by the returning officer and shall do photocopies for distribution to the counting agents. The original second copies shall be returned to the counting supervisor of the respective table. Further, for cross-checking by the observer will randomly select two electronic voting machines, that is the control units, and the additional counting staff shall assist the observer and verify the control unit results. If any discrepancy is found, result of the round of each table shall be re-verified from the electronic voting machine and staff concerned will be removed, may recommend severe disciplinary action, and result of such staff in previous round will also be checked. Now, the counting of votes recorded in EVM shall be noted at the pro forma for recording of votes by the additional counting staff. Here, both the computer and manual entry cross-checking of data shall be done, and if the returning officer and observer is satisfied with the compilation, they will sign the trend-wise result, and thereafter the returning officer should announce the result of the round, and it should be displayed on the display board. The copy of this trend result should be given to the all candidates or election agents and to the media room, and it should be uploaded to the encore, and a copy should be sent to the chief electoral officer, and only after the completion of one round in all respect, control units of the next round will be moved to the counting hall. An account on such distribution of control units shall be kept and brought to the notice of the returning officer from time to time. Before going further, I will say how VVPAT paper slips are counted in VCB, that is VVPAT counting booth. First of all, for keeping the VVPAT paper slips taken out from the drop box of the VVPAT, a sufficiently large size container with lid having dimensions of 14 inch in length and 10 inch in breadth and 5 inch in height to easily accommodate around 1400 printed paper slips shall be kept on the table of VCB. These containers should be made of sturdy transparent material like plastic, etc. And it shall be kept on the table of the VCB. For keeping the VVPAT paper slips of the respective candidates, a pigeonhole framework shall be prepared in advance according to the number of candidates, including nota, with one additional pigeonhole for keeping self-test slips of VVPAT. The minimum number of pigeonholes in the framework must be equal to the number of candidates plus 2. The size of each pigeonhole compartment must be at least 6 inches in length and 4 inches in breadth and 4 inches in the depth. The pigeonhole structure should be made of transparent material like plastic, and it should have the fixed base to prevent any VVPAT paper slips from slipping underneath. The symbol of each contesting candidate as per the ballot paper should be affixed on the wall of the pigeonhole allotted to the particular candidate. The symbol should be printed in black on a white plain paper, minimum size of the 4 inches in length and 3 inches in breadth. Next, the VVPAT unit of the respective polling stations should be brought to the VVPAT counting booth one by one. In case a VVPAT unit was replaced during the poll at that polling station, all the VVPAT unit used at the polling station should be brought to the VCB. The printed paper slips shall be taken out from all the VVPATs used at the polling station before beginning of the counting of the VVPAT slips for the polling stations. Before taking out the VVPAT paper slips from the drop box, the address text of the drop box shall be cross-checked to ascertain that the VVPAT pertains to the respective polling station. The VVPAT paper slips taken out from the drop box of the VVPAT shall be first kept in the container as mentioned above. After taking out the VVPAT paper slips from the drop box, the counting supervisor shall ensure that no VVPAT paper slip is left inside the VVPAT drop box, and it should be shown that the drop box is empty. In case a VVPAT unit was replaced, it may so happen that an uncut fully or partially VVPAT paper slip is hanging and has not got cut and dropped in the drop box and is still connected to the paper roll. These uncut paper slips should not be torn, and it should not be counted actually. The drop box of the VVPAT will also have VVPAT slips of test report, and they don't have the names and symbol of any candidates. These self-test report slips are to be preserved along with the VVPAT paper slips as a part of record, but they are not to be counted as stated earlier. The VVPAT paper slips will be segregated one by one and put in respective pigeonholes after showing each slips to the counting agents. The paper slips bearing self-test report shall also be segregated and put in a separate pigeonhole provided for the purpose. The bundles of 25 VVPAT paper slips of respective candidates shall be prepared for counting purpose, and VVPAT paper slips shall then be counted by the counting staff. Result of the VVPAT paper slips count shall be prepared in the prescribed format shown here. The result of the count of VVPAT slips shall be announced loudly in the counting hall and shall be shown to the counting agents. As per the Rule 56D subclause B of the Conduct of Election Rule 1961, if there is discrepancy between the EVM count and paper slips count, paper slip count shall prevail and result shall be amended as per paper slips count. After the completion of counting of VVPAT slips, bundles of all VVPAT paper slips shall be kept back in the drop box of the respective VVPAT and door of the drop box shall be sealed using address text. The candidates, their agents may also be allowed to fix their signature with party abbreviation on the address text. While counting is going on, different cases may arise. For example, result not shown in display section of the control unit, or the close button not pressed and result cannot be seen on the counting day, and other cases like the pre-identified case of a mock poll votes not deleted. These control units shall be kept at the returning officer's custody and shall take up after the regular rounds of counting as per the following sequences. First is the counting of the control units where close button not pressed at the end of poll. Next is the counting of the VVPAT slips of polling stations for which result is not displayed on the display panel of the control unit. Next is the counting of VVPAT slips of polling stations as per the order and instruction issued by the Election Commission due to improper conduct of mock poll procedure by the non-clearance of mock poll data and the VVPAT slips. Next, the counting of the VVPAT slips under the Rule 56D of the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. And lastly, the mandatory verification of VVPAT slips of randomly selected 5 polling stations per assembly. When the close button was not pressed at the end of the poll, in case any control unit does not display result due to not pressing of close button by the presiding officer in the polling station at the close of poll, it should be kept back inside its carrying case in the returning officer's custody in the counting hall. And counting of votes in the other machine should continue as usual. When counting of votes in other machine is completed, the returning officer and observer will see whether the margin of votes between the first candidate and runner-up is more or less than the votes polled in such machine. In both the cases where the margin of votes is more or less than the total votes polled in that machine, the returning officer or the counting supervisor shall press the total button of the control unit to see the total votes polled in the machine. In case the total votes polled in the machine tallies with the total votes polled mentioned in the Form 17C, the returning officer or the controlling officer shall press the close button of the control unit so that the result button can be pressed for getting result data, explaining the entire issue to the candidates or their authorized agents, and recording a proceeding in this behalf with the signature of the candidates and their authorized agents. The returning officer and observer should send a detailed report to the Commission in a prescribed format. In case the total votes polled in the machine does not tally with the total votes polled mentioned in Form 17C, the matter should be referred by the returning officer to the Commission for its decision, and action may be taken as per the direction of the Commission. The returning officer and observer should send a detailed report to the Commission in a prescribed format when the margin of votes between the candidate having the highest votes and the runner-up is more than the poll votes polled in the control unit. And also, the returning officer and observer shall also send a detailed report to the Commission in a prescribed format given in the handbook when the margin of votes between the candidate having the highest votes and the runner-up is less than the votes polled in the control unit. And sometimes the display of the control unit does not show the result. And in such cases, the control unit shall be kept back inside its carrying case and it should be kept at the returning officer's custody in the counting hall, and counting of votes in other machine should continue as usual. The result from such control unit will not be retrieved using auxiliary display unit or printer. After the completion of counting of votes from all control units, the printed paper slips of the respective VVPAT shall be counted as per the counting procedure prescribed by the Commission. After counting of ballot slips candidate-wise, total votes shall be tallied with the item 6 of the part 1 of the Form 17C of that polling station, and result of the VVPAT paper slips count shall be prepared in format and attached to the part 2 of the Form 17C. And after completion of counting of VVPAT paper slips, the bundles of all the VVPAT paper slips shall be kept back in the drop box of the respective VVPAT, and the door of the drop box shall be sealed using address text. The candidates and their agent may also be allowed to affix their signature with a party abbreviation on address text. A reporting format for counting of the VVPAT paper slip is shown here. The Election Commission of India has issued for counting of VVPAT slips for the non-deletion of mock poll data from the control unit or the non-removal of mock poll slips from VVPAT counting of votes thereof and mismatch in the mandatory verification process as per the instruction given in 2019. In the first case, in all pre-identified cases on poll day during scrutiny of documents on P+1 day, where mock poll is either not erased from the control unit or VVPAT paper slips of mock poll not removed partially or fully, the concerned control unit shall be kept aside during the counting of votes. The table allocated to such polling stations shall be kept vacant during the relevant round of counting. The list of all pre-identified polling stations shall be shared with the contesting candidates before the commencement of process of counting. Next, if during the round-wise counting of electronic voting machine, if there is any case in which the total votes polled in control unit does not match the record of votes in Form 17C, it is an indication that the close result clear CRC protocol after the mock poll was not correctly done for this machine, and in all such cases, the control unit shall be kept aside, that these polling stations will not be taken up for the counting during the regular round-wise, and the table allocated to such polling station will be kept vacant during this particular round, and details and reason for such scenario shall be explained by the returning officer or assistant returning officer to the election agents and the contesting candidates, counting agents present in the counting hall. In such cases, the corresponding VVPAT shall be counted for this polling station after completing all the counting rounds with the control units. After the completion of all regular rounds, the following procedure will be followed. In case of the state assembly elections, if the winning margin is more than the total votes polled in all such polling stations, these polling stations identified as above two cases will not be taken up for counting, and result will be declared without this polling station. If the winning margin is equal to less than the total votes polled in this polling station, in such case, only counting of the respective VVPAT paper slips will be done and control units shall be discarded for counting purpose. Even in case where VVPAT paper slips pertaining to the mock poll have not been taken out from the drop box of the VVPAT slips shall be counted and candidate-wise votes from mock poll certificate shall be deducted to arrive at a correct count of the candidate-wise votes polled. The VVPAT slip count result of this polling station shall be added to the candidate-wise tally and final result will be compiled. Now, one point I want to add is the control unit used in the above cases will not be included in the random selection of the 5 polling stations for the mandatory verification of VVPAT paper slips count. Now, after completion of regular round of control units counting and counting of the VVPATs, there will be mandatory verification of VVPAT paper slips of the 5 polling stations as per the instruction given by the Election Commission of India in 2019. There will be mandatory verification of VVPAT paper slips of randomly selected 5 polling stations for assembly constituencies in addition to the Rule 56D of the Conduct of Election Rule 1961. After completion of the last round of counting of votes recorded in electronic voting machine, These verifications shall be done after completion of last round recorded in VVPAT slips and control units due to non-display of control unit and under the Rule 56D of the Conduct of Rules 1961. The random selection of the 5 polling stations per the AC shall be done by the draw of lots by the returning officer in presence of the candidates, their agents, and general observer. The draw of lots must be conducted immediately after the completion of the last round of counting of votes, including the non-display of result from the control unit or under the Rule 56D of the Conduct of Election Rule 1961. A written intimation regarding the draw of lots for the random selection of 5 polling stations for verification of VVPAT slips will be given by the returning officer to the candidate and their election agent well in advance. The following procedure shall be followed for the conduct of draw of lots. A white color paper of postcard size shall be used for conducting the draw of lots. Total number of such paper cards will be equal to the number of polling stations in the assembly. The polling stations whose VVPAT paper slips have been counted due to non-display of result from the control unit or under Rule 56D of the Conduct of Election Rule 1961 or whatsoever the reason shall not be included in the draw of lots for the mandatory verification of VVPAT slips count. The paper cards shall have pre-printed assembly constituency, assembly name, date of polling on the top, and the polling station number in the center. Each digit of the polling station shall be at least 1 inch by 1 inch square size and printed in black ink. The paper cards to be used for draw of lots should be four-folded in such a way that polling station number is not visible. Each paper cards shall be shown to the candidate and their agents before folding and dropping in the container. The paper cards shall be kept in a big container and must be shaken before picking up 5 slips by the returning officer. And next, the verification of the VVPAT paper slips shall be done in a VVPAT counting booth, that is VCB. Verification count of the VVPAT paper slips of the 5 polling stations shall be conducted sequentially, one after another, and strictly according to the Commission's instructions of counting printed slips. The returning officer and assistant returning officer shall personally supervise the counting of the VVPAT paper slips at the BCB. The observer shall maintain close and direct oversight on the entire exercise and ensure the strict compliance of the Commission instruction. In case if there is mismatch between the electronic count of the control unit and the VVPAT paper slips count, counting will again be done till the recount is tallied either with EVM count or one of the previous VVPAT slips count. After completing the process as specified just above, if there is discrepancy between EVM count and VVPAT paper slips count as per Rule 56(4)(b) of the Conduct of Rules 1961, the VVPAT paper slips count shall prevail. Hence, if there is discrepancy between the count of votes displayed on the control unit and count of printed paper slips in respect of that polling station, the result sheet will be amended as per the paper slips count. The whole process of this VVPAT paper slips count should be fully videographed, and after completion of the process, returning officer shall give a certificate in a format which is shown here separately for each polling station to the chief electoral officer concerned, and observer appointed by the commission shall also submit their report to the commission in format shown here. Let us take on the compilation of results. Officer compiling the result in result sheet in Form 20 shall do very strictly as per the entries in Part 2 of the Form 17C. He or she shall note down the number of tender votes polled, if any, in Form 20, and shall note that these are not to be counted. For the assembly constituency, the final result sheet, the returning officer need to prepare only the Part 1 of the Form 20, and in that the number of postal ballots received by each candidate shall also be mentioned, and after all details have been entered in the Form 20, All the data must be rechecked manually and through the computer for finalizing this final form, that is the Form 20. And there should not be any mistake for all the polling stations. If there is discrepancy, this may invite a severe disciplinary action to the concerned staff. So this part must be carefully taken off by the returning officer. Now I am inserting one sample of the Form 20. The election observer appointed by the Commission under Section 20B of the Representation of People Act have the power to direct the returning officer to stop the counting of votes at any time before the declaration of the result. If, in the opinion of the observer, vote capturing has taken place at a large number of polling stations, or any ballot paper used at the polling station or at place fixed for the poll are unlawfully taken away out of the returning officer custody, or are accidentally or intentionally destroyed or tampered to such an extent that the result of the poll at the polling station or the place cannot be ascertained. In such cases, the observer have no power to order the recommencement of the counting. It will recommence only on the order of the Commission. And before the declaration of the final result, the returning officer has to take the authorization from the observer in a prescribed format. Without this authorization from the observer, the returning officer shall not declare the election result. Now, after completing and assigning the result sheet in Form 20 appended to the Conduct of Rules 1961, and after obtaining the necessary approval of the Commission wherever required, and no objection from the Commission observer in the above format, the returning officer may complete and sign the result sheet in Form 20. The candidate obtained the largest number of valid votes should then be declared elected, and the returning officer must declare the result by public announcement. Before the announcing of the winning candidates, the returning officer shall pause for 2 minutes, during which the candidate or the agent can ask for recount of the postal ballot or poll electronic voting machine for all or some of the polling station. If such applications are submitted, returning officer shall ascertain how long the applicant will take to make the application for recounting in writing. If some time is requested and it is reasonable, announce the exact hour and minutes till which the returning officer will be waiting, and consider the grounds urged in the application and decide if valid in whole or part, and reject entirely if it is found unreasonable and frivolous. And reasons for accepting or rejecting the application should be recorded in detail. And if recount is done, and it should be done carefully, and make changes if any in the Form 20 and announce the same. And now to complete and sign the Form 20, after observer's clearance obtained, announce the result. Some important notes. The penultimate round of the electronic voting machine counting shall not commence unless the postal ballot counting is over, and it is the RO's duty to accurately count the recorded votes, and he can at any time order the staffs to recount the votes. In case the victory margin is less than the total number of postal ballot received, then re-verification of all postal ballots should be done, even if no candidate or agent has asked for it. The entire proceeding to be videographed, and the compact disc CD of such videography to be kept in sealed cover for future reference. Under no circumstance actual votes recorded in a EVM or ballot paper is to be photographed or covered by any audiovisual coverage. Thank you and wish you all grand success.